Hi, it's Hannes Dreyer from the Wealth Creators Method, and I'd like to give a feedback regarding the 500K challenge, and then maybe give you one or two thoughts about the way that I see investments and the stock market and stuff like that. Maybe a little story how it all started. It was on the 1st of November or the 2nd of November. I saw a challenge where a client gave two experts here in South Africa, Piet Viljoen and Magnus Heistek, 500,000 each, and with the basically assignment to see who can grow his money the best. So Piet says here in South Africa, it's local is lekker, and therefore he invests in local funds. Magnus says at that point in time, take it overseas. That is where the growth is going to be. And the moment that I saw that, I sent out the email to my database and to my existing students saying that I would like to be part of this, even though they may not know this, but I'm going to show my students exactly what I'm doing. And I thought that on YouTube, from time to time, I can give a feedback and update to where we are. Now, last week, I saw that there's an update from Piet and Magnus. We're not in the 2-year mark, but it's almost there. So maybe they're not going to do another update. And that is the reason why I want to do this update. The first thing is that Piet, his 500,000 is worth 527. That is 27 positive, which gives us about 5.4% growth. And then if you look at Magnus, his money, according to them, is worth 434,008 rands, which is a negative growth of 65, we can say 66,000 rand, which is equivalent of about 13% negative. A little bit about what I've done. As soon as I saw that, I said that I'm not going to take that risk. 500,000 rand, we do not understand risk. And that is the reason why people invest the way that they do. As a wealth creator, that's not what we're doing. I allocated 100 rand is a maximum investment risk that I'm prepared to take. And that includes I'm not allowed to stand security or to use any existing assets that I've got. This is a challenge based on 100 rand. The idea was to take the 100 rand, turn it into 500,000 within the first year, and then based on the 500,000, outperform the best fund manager, not only in South Africa, but in the world. That includes hedge fund managers with at least 100%, right? And then I had a goal to take that to about 20 million to see how close I can get to 20 million over a total of 5-year period. So if we look where I am at the moment, we see it's just over 4 million. Now, of course, this can fluctuate on a day-to-day basis. What I think we should do is that this that you see and this that you experience is not really the truth. And let me perhaps tell you why. We have to look at inflation. Inflation has got a devastating effect on the average person. So our money must work at least at the same tempo or growth as the inflation. When we start looking at the historical inflation and we do the projection, we're going to suddenly find that the investment of 500,000 2 years ago, I'm taking 2 years, it's not exactly 2 years, but I think that you are following what I'm saying. And the average inflation over that period of time, according to that website, is 6.72%. That means that your money must be worth 569,463 rands today. This is what your money must be worth if you invest it and you want to keep track just with inflation. Now, let's now compare Piet and Magnus to see what is really happening. So when we do this, we use a normal Excel spreadsheet. We already know it's 569,000 rand that it should be. So that is the goal. This is what the money must be worth today. The client's money must be worth today is 1.138 million on condition that he tracks at least the inflation rate. But what is the scenario? So even though it looks like Piet is making a profit, he's actually down by 8.49% if we compare that, of course, to the inflation rate. Exactly the same thing happened with Magnus. So when we compare Magnus, we're going to see that he's down by 27%. And if we take the average, we're going to find that the client is down by 17.79%. Now, I think it's important that we understand this because it can be very misleading. We can look like we are making money, but in real life, we're not getting ahead in life. We're on this rat race, that treadmill that people are on, and they don't get ahead. And this is just one of the reasons why people are not getting it. I'm not in the stock market, so this is not any financial advice. What I'm doing is what I'm doing. I'm sharing that with my students. So I'm definitely not an advisor. I'm not a broker. I'm not a fund manager. And maybe I'm the last person that you should ever listen to. But here's the thing. There's two ways that you can invest. The one is by doing what everyone else is conditioned to do, and that is to take your money and to give it to someone else, like experts, and then trust them to give you the best return, hoping, because there are so many of these people, that your broker or fund manager is going to give you the best performance. The last time that I've checked, there was about 1,700 unit trusts just in South Africa. I'm not talking about overseas, but these guys are learning the same thing, and yet they get different results. Nothing wrong with, they are experts, they know what to do, they have got the qualifications, they've got the accreditations, but the whole system, my friend, according to me, and I may be totally wrong, is against the average person. It's there to keep the average person poor. Okay, that's what I tried to say. If I can give you a tip, if you want to get ahead in life, and it's not only applicable in this, let's call it in this challenge, it's something that I've learned way back in the 80s, where I found a mentor and he gave me a tip, and I'd like to share this tip with you, if it's okay with you. He said that if you want to be successful, all you have to do is to follow the golden triangle success formula. Now, what is the golden triangle success formula? First of all, find a mentor that has done that you want to do in your life. Right. And then secondly, find what system did he use or she used in order to become successful. Because unless they've got a system, they cannot duplicate that and help you to gain the skills. Because the third part, and this is the most important part, is it's about the skills. You have to learn the skills in order to be able to do it. Unless you've got the skills, it's useless. But the nice thing is, if there's a system that the mentor used and he can teach you how to use the system, you must get more or less the same results that he or she is getting. So it's not complicated. You do not have to go and get BCom degree and then a CFP and then a CPA and then a CA and then an MBA and then, no, it's nonsense. You do not need to become a fund manager in order to do that. Now, of course, if you want to, I'm not saying that you should not do that, but I think it's really a waste of time. Now, when we look at any investment, we're going to find that an investment has got only two components to it. The one part is the risk, and I believe that the majority of people have got no idea what risk is. And then secondly, the growth. And these two, you cannot separate. The moment that you separate these two, you cannot gain the skills in order to let your money work for you with the minimum amount of risk. If we quickly have a look at what is a wealth creator strategy, the definition is the intelligent use of limited resources, that money that you've got, to go from where you are to where you want to be. In other words, my goal is at least to outperform them with 100% over 5 years, right? But starting with just 100 Rand, and then as quickly as possible. In other words, we do not have 20 years to do it. I want to do it in less than 5 years, and then with the least amount of risk. So the risk portion is what it's about. But now I want to pay your attention to Warren Buffett. So if I had to select a mentor today in the stock market, now I haven't got any money in the stock market, none, zero results, because I don't understand that. I can't apply the ruler's principle to the stock market. But if I want to get into the stock market, I will simply do this that my mentor told me, and that is find a mentor. And I'm not saying that you should do it. If I were to pick a mentor without doing any investigation at this point in time, let's take a person like Warren Buffett. The first thing that he says is that when it comes to risk is when you do not know what you're doing. So if that is the case, then what does he mean with that? The moment that I'm taking my money that I've worked for, my blood, sweat, and tears, and I'm giving this money to someone else who's taking all the risk, I'm taking the risk because it's my money. Plus, there's no guarantee that I'll get any of my money back. It's a hope. I hope that I'm going to get back more. So we can see immediately that risk is not what we've been conditioned to believe. They're going to give you this risk profile. You have to fill it in. And based on that, they're going to say you're a moderate investor or a high-risk investor. And according to that, they're going to put a portfolio together for you. I'm saying that is absolutely nonsense. If you want to become rich, or the way that I see it, and I may be totally wrong, remember, please don't listen. I'm just sharing this for the sake of my student. But you have to take the responsibility. Unless you've got the responsibility, you're not going to learn the skills to offset risk. And you're not going to learn the skills in order to let your money work for you. So there are two parts of skills that you need. The one is risk, how to mitigate, how to offset that. The second one is, but how can I grow? Now, if you apply the wealth creator strategy, you're going to find that by mitigating your risk, automatically the growth will be there. So how do we do that? We follow a simple process. We learn the 4 high-value skill sets. We start mentally. That is where people are going wrong. They don't want to know that. They want to get shortcuts. But unless mentally you are strong enough to see this thing through and to put in the time and the effort to understand how it really works, it's not going to work. You will not outperform the best fund managers. So we need to understand the risk. That is where we start. And that is what I focus on the moment that we get to the wealth creators strategy, is we focus on the risk. If we follow Warren Buffett, what is he basically doing? The first thing that I've picked up today is that he's sitting at the moment with something like 147 billion cash. What does it mean? It means that he's not necessarily in the market, or that's what I wanted to understand. So I did a Google search and I found the following. Charlie Munger, he's second in charge, says the markets are overvalued and even crazier than the dot-com bubble. Okay, so he's got a system. I don't know if you've picked this up, but there has to be a system. Let's see if we can find that system. So here we see Buffett has got an indicator, and that says that the stock market is overvalued. In fact, it's so much overvalued that it is higher than the dot-com bubble, which happened basically in 2000. This is where it is at the moment. If Warren Buffett tells us that this is overvalued, why on earth would I go into something like the stock market at this point in time? It's far better sitting in cash. The problem is a fund manager or a broker is never going to put your money into cash because they want you to get into the market, and they're going to get 200 reasons why it is important and that you can't time the market. But you don't have to time the market. If this thing is right and you're an investor, I will listen to that. This is, by the way, the basis that I've used to build the Dreyer crypto indicator, right? Is to tell me what is happening in general with the world's economy with one graph. I can tell you just by looking at this graph, I can tell you what's going on in the world. There's too much money that was printed. That's a problem, especially in America with this quantitative easing. That is causing a serious problem in America that filters throughout the world. It's going to affect South Africa. Remember, I'm not an economist. I'm not a broker. I'm just a old toppy of 66 sitting in Pretoria, not knowing what to do. And therefore I watch every now and then what other people are doing and think, will I do the same, or is there something that I can learn from that? Yes or no? And in this case, couple of years ago, I saw this, by the way, that this is where I saw that he's got an indicator. In other words, it's a system. I love systems. So the moment that a system starts working for you, it takes a lot of stress from you as a person. Just according to that, if I were to start into the stock market, I would say, no ways. I'll rather put my money in cash, or the majority of my money in cash, and then wait. Now, there are other strategies that you can follow. So Albert Einstein basically says that we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we use when we created it. I'm saying, according to me, and I may be totally wrong, but according to me, my belief system is that the average person is in the situation that they're in because of the conditioning and because of the education that the financial system and the educational system is trying to do in terms of giving advice and teaching people how to invest and what money is. And the average person has got no idea what money is. They use it every day, but they don't know where it comes from. They don't know how it's being generated. And if I look at that slide that I've just showed you, it tells me, and you can go and have a look, there's too much money that started to flow. So how are they going to neutralize that? The governments and the reserve banks know only one way: push up the interest rate. So if you're in South Africa, as an example, or in America, you're going to find that suddenly you're in a bad situation. Because if you bought, say, for example, a property, or you borrowed money in order to start a business, and you could get it 2 or 3 years ago for almost zero interest, or here in South Africa, like 7% interest, and you borrow that money. Now, in South Africa, if you want to pay your bond back, you're in for a surprise, because suddenly it's not costing the same that it cost you. And I think on R1 million, you can easily work on about 3,000 Rand that is going to cost you more. Where do you get that money if you're on a fixed salary? I'm not talking about investments. I'm talking about survival. That will have an effect on the stock market. Now, internationally, America is pushing up the interest rate. So what's going to happen? If you can get 7%, 8%, as an example, and your portfolio, your unit trust portfolio, or your stock portfolio grew by 2% or minus, don't you think that it's wise that you rather take that money from South Africa and put it in dollars, or put it in bonds, where you know I'm getting X% interest with no risk? So the moment that happens, guess what's going to happen with the stock market? I think Piet Viljoen is in for a surprise. Now, again, I'm not an economist. I'm not a fund manager. I've got no qualifications to say that you should even listen to me. But let's use logic. What do you think is going to happen on the stock market? Even though the stocks may be extremely undervalued, I'm telling you that it's going to fall further. And for that reason, just based on that one system that Warren Buffett's got, I'm telling you that I will not get into that. Another thing that I want to bring to you, looking at Warren Buffett, everyone associates him with the stock market and being a broker, and it's simply not true. So when we look at what is happening in Berkshire, we're going to find that Warren Buffett is not a stockbroker, for the simple fact that his total assets, this was today this is the 16th of October, 2023. When I looked at it, it's 762 billion. But when I look at what is his stock portfolio, we see it's 348 billion. In other words, it's only 45% of the total market cap that they've got. Where's the rest? I got to this page, and it simply says it's Warren Buffett's portfolio. I'm not 100% sure what the date of this was. Let me see if I can find it. I don't see it, but I don't think there's a big change. Here's the date. On the 14th of August, 2023. This is his stock portfolio, and we see he's got a lot of stocks. But then when we go and we say, let's look at all of the assets that Berkshire Hathaway has got, and we see there's operating subsidiaries. In other words, this is where he owns like 100% or 92% of a company. And there's quite a few of them. And then the listed public companies and ETF holdings. I've done a little Excel spreadsheet. When we now go and have a look, we see that in terms of companies that he owns as a business owner, there's about 73. And when we go down further, we see that in terms of stocks, it's about 50. And this is where I'm getting the 45% that I've talked about on this slide. Why is this important? Because what I'm teaching at the Wealth Creators Method is simply that, first of all, mentally, you need to be willing to take the responsibility to learn the skills. So what are the skills that you need? Warren Buffett, when he started off, he had a high income skill, right? A high income skill. He turned the high income skill into a business skill. In the first 8 years that he had these limited partnerships, that is where the bulk of his growth happened. So much that by starting with $100, and all of this is public knowledge, my friend, he started with $100. He turned that $100 into a couple of million. He got the majority shareholding in Berkshire Hathaway. But from then till now, in terms of growth compared to that first 8 years, there's no comparison. So if you really go into it, you're going to find that is where he made his money. But he made the money as a business owner. How's he making his money today? Exactly the same. Where do you think is this 146 billion that is sitting there in cash is coming from? Do you think it's from dividends, or do you think it's from his business? It's from his business. So he uses, by the way, he's got a very strong property portfolio as well that I did not even show you. But he then takes that money and says, okay, but where's that money going to work? Is it going to work best in property? Is it going to work best in, and by the way, he's busy selling a lot of properties, or he has a couple of months ago. Or is it in the stock market? Or is there another business that I can buy? So it's not to say there's 146 billion that he's going to use to get to the stock market. This is what sometimes people simply do not get. But then there's something else that I want to bring to your attention. And we are busy learning from just one person like Warren Buffett. Or this is the way that I see it, and this is what I'm busy learning from it. So when we look at this, and we look at the total stock portfolio that he's got, the top 4 investments is the equivalent of 257 billion. The total portfolio is 348 billion. This simply means that 74% is in just the top 4. Remember, we said there's 52. In just the top 4. Do you think if he had to balance the fund and use the modern day portfolio method, that he would not rebalancing the fund the whole time? It's the most ridiculous method. Now I'm talking about what I saw 30 years ago, being a financial planner at that point in my life. I saw this and it made no sense. Yet this is the stuff that we've learned to do. And for that reason, I decided I'm not going to do that. I'm going to follow a different strategy. Because when I looked at my clients at that point in my life, I could see that the people that were rich did not become rich, money-wise, from endowment policies or retirement annuities or mutual funds. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. If you do not want to take responsibility, then perfect. Go and make your pick. I'm talking if you really want to get ahead in life, my friend, you have to take the responsibility by learning the skills and then go and apply those skills and start small. Do not start with 500,000. While you learn, do not give up your job and say, okay, now I'm going to find a way and I'll find the mentor and we're going to make millions. No, that's not what I mean. Start small and make sure that you keep on growing. There's another slide that I quickly want to share with you. Einstein also said that you cannot solve a problem from the same thinking we used to create it. This is where the problem comes in. We regurgitate information that someone else gave us. We've never verified that. We've never checked the origin of that. We never followed the money trail to see, but what is the reason? Why is it that people tell you to invest your money with someone else? First of all, they know that we as human beings are lazy. We don't want to take the responsibility. We've got 200 excuses. We are too busy. We haven't got the time. We haven't got the money and stuff like that. And therefore, it's far easier to give your money to someone else and then to blame. The problem with the responsibility is the moment that you take the responsibility, there's no one to blame. If my 100 Rand disappeared, I can't blame Peter Moffness or anyone. I can't blame the economy. I can't blame the government. I can only blame myself. My friend, if you want to become successful, I want you to follow this little triangle. Find yourself a mentor that has got a system and that has proven that the system works in order to learn the skills. The success, if I look at the definition of success, I'm looking at Earl Nightingale. And his definition is success is a progressive realization of a worthy goal or a worthy ideal. That ideal is where you set yourself a goal. Like in my case, I'm not going to invest more than 100 Rand. I'll use my resources, I'll use my time, I'll use my knowledge and experience and everything. I'm not going to use any financial security in order to do that. And then I'm going to get to, let's say, 4 million. We're at 4 million at the moment within a 2-year period. That becomes my goal, but then I'm going to measure it to see if my investment growth rate, how hard my money is working, will give me that. If it does, then I'll look at the results because I apply this. I look at the results and I'm okay. I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing. At the moment, I want to get to 20 million. So the results tells me that what I'm doing is not going to give me, it's fabulous compared to them, but it's not going to give me the 20 million. So I need to change a little bit in terms of improving my strategies, this that I'm busy using. And that means that I have to improve my skills and apply the skills in a better way in order to do that. Once you know that definition, once you understand that, the next question is, but how can I speed this up? What is the quickest way? Is I have to get the right information, the right order for the level of the game that I'm at. And then I have to apply it to check the results because the results are going to tell me if I'm on track, yes or no. If I'm on track, happy. If not, back to skills. That is that. But then there's the most, let's call it, cost-effective way to do it because time is really the most valuable thing that I've got. And that is the reason why I've got mentors. And if I were to go into the stock market, I would definitely consider Warren Buffett to be one of my mentors. I would study him and understand what it is that he's doing and then start applying that very small. But what I'm interested in is the growth. Because if you're playing with 100,000 or 1 million, I'm sure that you'll outperform Warren Buffett and any fund manager by far. Of course, the moment that you start playing with 1 billion, it's a total different story. But then he should also be one of your mentors, right? Because that is the safest way, and that is follow the golden success triangle. Find yourself a mentor, right? Wherever that may be, and in whatever area that you want to go. If you want to go into business, find a business mentor that has done that you want to achieve. And there may be different levels. Maybe at the level 1, you'll find one mentor and then move on to a level 2. The ideal is to find a mentor that's already at the level 7 because there are 7 levels in business. And then that has got a system for level 1, that's got a system for level 2. And all these system works together. Or if it's investment, that has proven over and over that he or she can outperform the best fund managers, right? What's his or her system? Is there a strategy that they follow? Is there a method that they follow? If there's a method, learn that method, apply that method, and make sure that you become successful. This is perhaps a little bit longer than what I thought, but I'd like to get your feedback. Maybe if you want more of this kind of information, if you think it was worth your while, give me a thumbs up. If you think I've wasted your time, give me a thumbs down, but at least have the decency in telling me where I'm going wrong and who else do you know that can get not once, but several times this type of growth that we are getting. All right. And maybe join this channel. If you want to find more in YouTube, you simply follow the 500K challenge. You'll see the whole challenge with a lot of hopefully valuable education that can help you. And then I'm not sure when they're going to issue the next, maybe it's the end of the month in 15 days time or so. But otherwise, I'm going to say that this is the 2-year end. So thanks for your time, and I'll see you then in the next one.